Hey, you guys. Hello, it's David. And I'm back. And we're going to read a little bit of Eckhart Tolle again today. I love Eckhart Tolle. I really do. I'm going to actually, the light is on. I have a big iMac sitting here beside me. And the light kind of, there we go. I'm downsizing a few things. There. That's a little cooler, isn't it? Okay. So welcome. And here we go. We're going to read. As you know, I've been reading from The Power of Now this is my 18th session. And we're on the page 172. So we've been averaging almost 10 pages per sit. And we're in the chapter on enlightened relationships. And well into that chapter on enlightened relationships. And he says, this is on page 172. And you know, I'm reading this because I don't know. I think that Eckhart really had it. You know, there's a couple of authors and a couple of teachers that I'm really big on because they say it the way it is. And Eckhart Tolle is one of those men, and David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins was also one of those men, and I love reading his stuff. And I read his book Letting Go earlier this year. So anyway, here we go. Page 172. He says the subtitle of this part of the chapter is Give Up the Relationship with Yourself. When one is fully conscious, this is a question that one of his students is asking. When one is fully conscious, would one still have a need for a relationship? Would a man still feel drawn to a woman? Would a woman still feel incomplete without a man? He says, enlightened or not, you are either a man or a woman. You are either a man or a woman. So on the level of your form identity, you are not complete. You are one half of the whole. This incompleteness is felt as male-female attraction, and the pull toward the opposite energy, polarity, no matter how conscious you are. And he said the pull toward the opposite energy, polarity, no matter how conscious you are. But in that state of inner connectedness, you feel this pull somewhere on the surface or peripheral of your life. Anything that happens to you in that state feels somewhat like that. The whole world seems like waves or ripples on the surface of a vast and deep ocean. You are that ocean. Hey, Maria, welcome. Yeah, you are that ocean. And of course, you are also a ripple. But a ripple that has realized its true identity as the ocean. Aha. And that's why, by the way, Osho went from Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh to Osho, was because it came from this comparison, oceanic. And hi, Bev. Thanks for dropping in. We're reading The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. Awesome. I love it. So we're the ripple that realizes that we are the ocean. And compared to that vastness and depth, the world of waves and ripples are not all that important. This does not mean that you don't relate deeply to other people or to your partner. In fact, you can relate deeply only if you are conscious of being. Coming from being, you are able to focus beyond the veil of form. In being, male and female are one. Your form may continue to have certain needs, but being has none. It is already complete and whole. If those needs are met, that is beautiful. But whether or not they are met makes no difference to your deep inner state. So, it is perfectly possible for an enlightened person, if the need for the male or female polarity is not met, to feel a sense of lack or incompleteness on the outer level of his or her being, yet at the same time be totally complete, fulfilled, and at peace within. Nice. In the quest for enlightenment is being gay a help or hindrance, or does it make any difference? It's a question. As you approach adulthood, uncertainty about your sexuality, followed by the realization that you are different from others, may force you to disidentify from socially conditioned patterns of thought and behavior. This will automatically raise your level of consciousness above that of the unconscious majority. Those members whose members unquestionably take on board all inherent patterns. I've got to read that again. So he says basically we're different sexually. We may disidentify with social conditioning patterns of thought and behavior. And then he says this will automatically raise your level of consciousness above that of the unconscious majority, whose members unquestionably take on board all inherent patterns. In that respect, being gay may be a help. Being an outsider to some extent, someone who does not fit in with others or is rejected by them for whatever reason, makes life difficult. But it also places you at an advantage as far as enlightenment is concerned. It takes you out of the unconsciousness almost by force. Nice. Who would have thought that? On the other hand, if you then develop a sense of identity based on your gayness, you have escaped one trap only to fall into another. You will play roles in games dissected by a mental image you have of yourself as gay. You will become unconscious. You will become unreal. Underneath your ego mask, you will become very unhappy. If this happens to you, being gay will then become a hindrance. But you always get another chance, of course. Acute unhappiness can be a great awakening. Next question. If it is not true that you need to have a good relationship with yourself, and love yourself before you can have a fulfilling relationship with another person, is it not true? Okay, it's a question. Is it not true? You need to love yourself before you can love another person. He says, if you cannot be at ease with yourself when you are alone, you will seek a relationship to cover up your unease. You can be sure that the unease will then reappear in some other form within the relationship. You will probably hold your partner responsible for it. All you really need to do is accept this moment fully. All you really need to do is accept this moment fully. Imagine, that's it. You are then at ease in the here and now, and at ease with yourself. Yes. But, do you need to have a relationship with yourself at all? Why can't you just be yourself? When you have a relationship with yourself, you have split yourself into two, I and myself, subject and object. The mind-created duality is the root cause of all unnecessary complexities, of all problems and conflicts in your life. In the state of enlightenment, you are yourself. You and yourself merged into one. You do not judge yourself. You do not feel sorry for yourself. You are not proud of yourself. You do not love yourself. You do not hate yourself, and so on. The split caused by self-reflection The split caused by self-reflective consciousness is healed, its curse removed. This is no, there is no self that you need to protect, defend, or feed anymore. When you are enlightened, there is one relationship that you no longer have there is one relationship that you no longer have, the relationship with yourself. Once you have given that up, all your other relationships will be love relationships. Wow. Who would have thought? All the conditioning, years of being told we have to love ourselves and be in relationship with ourselves. And Eckhart says, no, just be. Well, we're into the next chapter. Chapter 9, page 177. Beyond happiness. And unhappiness. In unhappiness, there is peace. Beyond happiness and unhappiness, there is peace. All right. So happiness is bullshit. I know he's going to tell us that. There's no such thing. Here we go. The higher good beyond good and bad. And the question is, is there a difference between happiness and inner peace? Yes, he says. Happiness depends on conditions being perceived as positive. Inner peace does not. Next question. Is it not possible to attract only positive conditions into your life? If your attitude and thinking are always positive, we could manifest only positive events and situations, wouldn't we? That's a good question. He says, do you truly know what is positive and what is negative? There is no negative or positive. Do you have the total picture? There have been many people for whom limitation, failure, loss, illness, or pain in whatever form turned out to be their greatest teachers. It taught them to let go of false self-images and superficial ego-detecting goals and desires, to give them up, to give them depth, humility, and compassion. It made them more real. I got to go back over that whole little paragraph. I got to go over that paragraph again. Wow. Let's try that again. Okay. He says, do you truly know what is positive and what is negative? Do you have the total picture? There have been many people for whom limitation, failure, loss, illness, or pain in whatever form turned out to be their greatest teachers. It taught them to let go of false self-images and superficial ego-detected goals and desires. It gave them depth and humility and compassion. It made them more real. Okay, now I get that. So we thought it was negative, but it built us up. I mean, I see that in my own life so much. Whether anything negative happens to you, whenever anything negative happens to you, there is a deep lesson concealed within it, although you may not see it at the time. Even a brief illness or an accident can show you what is real and unreal in your life, what ultimately matters and what doesn't. Seen from a higher perspective, conditions are always positive. Seen from a higher perspective, conditions are always positive. To be more precise, they are neither positive nor negative. They are as they are. And when you live in complete acceptance of what is, which is the only sane way to live, there is no good or bad in your life anymore. There is only a higher good, which includes the bad. Seen from the perspective of the mind, however, there is good and bad, like and dislike, love and hate. Hence, in the book of Genesis, it is said that Adam and Eve were no longer allowed to dwell in paradise when they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Imagine. Hey, James Donald, I see you're watching. This sounds to me like denial and self-deception. This is a question she's asking. When something dreadful happens to me or someone close to me, accident or illness or pain of some kind or death, I can pretend that it isn't bad, but the fact remains that it is bad. So why deny it? He says, you're not pretending anything. You're allowing it to be as it is, that's all. This allowing to be takes you beyond the mind with its resistance patterns that create the positive-negative polarities. It is an essential aspect of forgiveness. It is an essential aspect of forgiveness. Forgiveness of the present is even more important than forgiveness of the past. If you forgive every moment, allow it to be as it is, then there will be no accumulation of resentment that needs to be forgiven or at some later date. I got that. Remember, he says, that you are not talking about happiness here, that we are not talking about happiness here. For example, when a loved one has just died and you feel your own death approaching, you cannot be happy. It is impossible. But you can be at peace. There may be sadness and tears, but provided that you have relinquished resistance, underneath the sadness, you feel a kind of deep serenity, a stillness, a sacred presence. This is the emanation of being. This is the inner peace, the good that has no opposite. Wow. Pretty cool, eh? So he's basically laid it out. There is no good and there is no bad. There is no right and there is no wrong. It's all our judgment. It's all of our, I call it our mind, our meaning-making machine. And we're always assessing and looking at every situation. Is this right? Is this wrong? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this, helpful? Is this not helpful? And we just don't know, And when we get that we don't know and that we have to live life on life's terms, accept what's happening in each moment as being perfect, then there's really no need to forgive. There's nothing to forgive if life is always for us. We only feel like somebody's wronged us because we have a judgment. It's always for us. There's always a gift in everything. So I love what he's got to say. The next question from one of his students. What if it is a situation that I can do something about? How can I allow it to be and change it at the same time? There we go. It's a good question. Do what you have to do, he says. In the meantime, accept what is. Since mind and resistance are synonymous, since mind and resistance are synonymous, acceptance immediately frees you from mind dominance and thus reconnects you with being. As a result, the usual ego motivations for doing, like fear or greed or control or defending or feeding the false sense of self, will cease to operate. An intelligence much greater than the mind is now in charge, and as a different quality of consciousness will flow into your doing. He says, accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs. For what could more aptly fit your needs, he says. This was written 2,000 years ago by Marcus Aurelius, one of those exceedingly rare humans who possessed worldly power as well as wisdom. I have his book. I love Marcus Aurelius. It seems that most people need to experience a great deal of suffering before they will relinquish resistance and accept, before they will forgive. As soon as they do, one of the greatest miracles happens. The awakening of being consciousness. The awakening of being consciousness through what appears as evil. The transmutation of suffering into inner peace. The ultimate effect of all the evil and suffering in the world is that it will force humans into realizing who they are beyond name and fear. Nice. Hey, Linda Switzer. Hi, love. Thanks for dropping in. Reading The Power of Now, and which I really enjoy doing. The ultimate effect of all the evil and suffering in the world is that it will force humans into realizing who they are beyond name and form. Thus, what we perceive as evil from our limited perspective is actually part of the higher good that has no opposite. This, however, does not become true for you except through forgiveness. Until that happens, evil has not been redeemed and therefore remains evil. Through forgiveness, which essentially means reconciling the insubstantiating of the past and allowing the present moment to be as it is, the miracle of transformation happens, not only within but also without. A silent space of intense presence arises both in you and around you. Whoever or whatever enters that field of consciousness will be affected by it, sometimes visibly and immediately, sometimes at a deeper level, and visible changes appearing at the later time. You dissolve, discard, heal. You dissolve and discard, heal pain, dispel unconsciousness without doing anything, simply by being and holding that frequency of intense presence. Beautiful. Beautiful. I think that's it today. Maybe only 6 or 7 pages, but I think that's it. We're in the chapter which looks like it may be one of the last chapters. Beyond happiness and unhappiness, there is peace. So really, really, really loving this book. Just really loving this book. I might have to read it again. But thank you so much for watching today. And love it if you check out our YouTube channel. And, maybe drop by the store and visit us sometime. That's it. Monday nights. I want you to know that Monday evenings we have a meditation. And every Monday evening at 6:30. So it would be really super if you drop by and meditate with us on Monday evenings. And I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, this weekend we're going to the Spirit and Soul Fest. Rona has a thing at the Glen Morgan Community Center. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just going to pull it up. Oh, look. He closed all my things. James, what's the name of Rona's thing this weekend? Rona's thing this weekend. Yeah. What's it called? Spirit and Soul Fair. Okay, the Spirit and Soul Fair. This weekend is Sunday at the Glen Morgan Community Center. There's going to be maybe 30 or 40 vendors. She's got people doing talks. I'm doing a talk at 10:45 in the morning there. And they'll have a booth set up in the main hall. And really looking forward to it. So come by. Visit us on Sunday. Okay. Love you guys lots. Enjoy the weather and your life. This is it. This is it. Right now. Be here now. Feel it. Breathe. Yes. Love you. Bye.